So who wants to introduce themselves next? Edwin, can you do a quick reintroduction?
As I said, my name is Edwin Baganko. I'm originally from Kenya. Been here for 23 years now, almost. Um, yeah, 23 and counting. I went to medical school in Kenya, practiced for a few years before migrating to the United States. Came here just in time before the end of the last century, um, and did my internal medicine training at Hennepin County Medical Center. Subsequently, I practice internal medicine and as a hospitalist, I also do critical care 80% of the time. I did detour and go to business school as well at Carlson, and now do a little bit of administrative work as well at the health system I work in as a medical director. And I'm very happy to be here.
So who wants to introduce themselves next? I've got Miriam up on the screen in the upper right. Would you like to go?
Sure, would love to. Thanks, Lisa. And it's a hard act to follow past Edwin, so I will try my very best. Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Roby, and I am the Clinical Director of Equity and Inclusion at Children's Hospital. I oversee both St. Paul and Minneapolis campus, small bio. I'm a family nurse practitioner by trade. I have been practicing medicine for almost 10 years now. I'm a hospitalist and work in internal medicine. I've also worked every other specialties, critical care, primary care, occupational medicine, yada, yada. And then also worked 10 years as a registered nurse prior to that. So almost 20 years in healthcare. I go by the pronouns she, her. I self-identify as Black. My parents are both immigrants. My father is from Niger and my mother is from Ukraine. And so my sister and I are first generation. And what I've had to navigate with them is to see the different challenges that they've had to go through as far as navigating Western civilization, just the different nuances, even helping them through healthcare, being that advocate for them when sometimes individuals are either looking at them from standpoint of their skin color or just listening to their accents, because both of them still have heavy accents even after all of these years. Also just my own personal journey as a person of color, trying to navigate healthcare, the educational system, things of that nature. And so I appreciate Lisa and Ahmed for having me join this panel, and I'm excited to have this discussion with everyone.
Thank you, Miriam. Meseret, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Meseret Hailu. I'm originally from Ethiopia. I came in December of 1989, dreary winter. So there was a major cultural shock. So I'm a first generation. My parents were still in Ethiopia. They, passed away, but I have been a nurse for 29 years, almost 30. I have been in different healthcare settings, long-term care, and hospitals, from med-surg to critical care to step down. Currently, I am a director of nursing of patient care services in a hospital. I have 6 units under me and about, I would say, 196 beds, over 380 employees. So I'm really happy to join you and hear some experiences and share my experience too.
Thank you. You have a big job. That's a very big job. Vesey, we're gonna move on and have you introduce yourself, and we're gonna kind of repeat this again, just so we can have like a clean cut of the recording. But I thought if we could all kind of get to know each other a little bit. So Vesey and then Rosie and then AJ, we'll have you introduce yourself, and I'll do a quick intro, which I kind of already did. But Vesey, you also have a really interesting background as a practitioner and then someone who's moved on to start a business around healthcare.
Yes, thank you, Lisa, for having me. I'm delighted to be here tonight. So I'm Vesey, or also known as Vesey for short, and I'm a registered nurse. I'm also a nurse practitioner student, so in my third year. I also I work a few hats actually. Currently, I also run my school, my allied healthcare school called Primetime Medical Training, as well as a scrub uniform store on site. So pretty busy, but through it all, I try to give back to the community and do events as such. How did I decide on a career in healthcare? Well, first thing, I come from a few generations of nurses. My grandma is an RN. She's now retired, but she is, they say once a nurse, always a nurse. So when I first went into healthcare, my main focus was education. I always loved teaching. And so I was trying to find that career that will put everything together, my love for teaching and my love for health. I started off going into education. So I took a few classes in college in the education sector, doing K through 12 courses to become a K through 12 instructor. And then I was like, no, I really love healthcare because I always wanted to stay in the healthcare path. So I switched my major after taking a few courses in education. And I'm happy I did, because I realized that in healthcare, especially being a nurse, I can still do those things. I can still teach. I can still deliver healthcare with passion, what I truly enjoy doing. So that's really one of the things that just kept me going. So what also keeps me going are my children. So my children are really my motivation. My mom, she's from Liberia, West Africa, and seeing how she came into the US, and I mean, she's been here for over 30 something years, but she hasn't went back yet. So I'm like, well, what's going on, Mom? I'm just wondering, okay, are you going to visit? Are you going to take me? I want to see where you're from. But she hasn't done that. But it'll be one of my goals, if not to, join a mission group or a trip and go and give back to where my roots are, and to see where my mom and her upbringing were in those, in that third world country. Because I know it wasn't easy for them to come to the U.S. And just like Miriam said, my mom still has her accent after all these years. My dad is African American, so I get to see from both perspectives and how you can be treated from the American side and also the African side. So, and I think that has served me well, and it has kept me grounded, because I can identify as African American or African, but the roots that my mother instilled in me from the African side, I mean, it's unmatched. So I'm very grateful for that. Education has always been a thing in our household, going to college, becoming, self-sustainable, looking back and helping those that are less fortunate than you. So that is really my calling, is just to go back and help others, and not just to gain titles, but to also do something where it makes an impact for others, for other people's lives. My attributes to a successful career, I would say I'm still getting there. I'm not where I ultimately want to be. I mean, if you're comfortable, then you will say that comes easy. But I'm a self challenger. I love to give myself tasks and things and try to achieve them. So I'm always climbing up to see, okay, what can I do? What can I do? How can I be better? How can I live my life abundantly? So I would say my drive is what keeps me going and helps to, helps lay those attributes for my successful career. And just being hungry for education, being hungry to leave a mark on this world. So
that's amazing. Yes. Thank you so much. And we're going to have more, we're going to kind of do a roundtable of more questions in a few minutes.
Sure. Okay.
So that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Vesey. We're so glad you're here tonight. I'm so glad I got to meet you last fall. And Rosie, you and I have been connected for quite a few years now. I would love for you to just do a short introduction.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. So my name is Rosemont Sapong Owens, and some people call me Rosie. And it's okay. Like, so it's tough to police what people call me. So I'm fine. I always tell people, once it has a rose in it, I'm fine. So rosebud, whatever it is, I'm okay. And so currently I work for Blue Cross of Minnesota, and Blue Cross is an HMO, is a health insurance company. And so the Blue Crosses are independent franchisees of the Blue Cross Association. 36 states have Blue Cross. And yeah. So my foray into healthcare was probably quite accidental. I am originally from Ghana. I went to school and I did my undergrad in Ghana. So I got an opportunity to study in Europe and studied in Spain for a while. So coming to America, the goal was to go to New York and get a master's in international relations and go and work in Geneva. So and in Ghana, most girls' dreams are like that. So they go to learn languages. Well, so of course I came to the United States and my first job was in a hospital. And I think that was how I got into healthcare. It was quite accidental. And yeah, the rest is history. So I'm still in healthcare, and yeah.
AJ, could you introduce yourself?
Well, yes, definitely. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Ahmed. I am the program coordinator for Prosperity Ready. I'm also a student of computer science and software engineering. I'm an immigrant. I entered Minnesota around January 2022. So it has been 1 year for me that I'm staying in the United States. And before that, I worked as an administrative assistant and I was teaching English part-time. So basically, this was mostly it for me. Yeah.
Yep. So AJ is, he worked as an administrative assistant for a national or an international nonprofit that's actually headquartered in New York, right? But it's called Equal Access International. It's global. And AJ came to Minnesota from Afghanistan and then recently relocated from Minnesota to Virginia, where he reminds me on a daily basis that there's no snow in Virginia. So we're going to go right into our next question, which is, so you've all had, just looking at your LinkedIn profiles and in being able to talk with some of you, you've really evolved your healthcare career journeys. So we would love to hear a little bit about where are you at currently in your healthcare career versus where did you start out and how did it compare to your early aspirations versus where you're at now?
So to be honest, I didn't have any early aspirations to do anything in healthcare. So my goal was to save enough money to go to graduate school and study international relations so I could go and work at the UN. So I didn't have any aspiration. So I got a chance to work at Hennepin County Medical Center. So for 8 years, I was the birth recorder. And after recording about 24,000 birth certificates, I spoke to about 20,000 women. And most of them were from, like 40% of births to Hennepin were from underserved or underrepresented communities, right? So being from Ghana, I was very naive. When you see America on TV, I mean, that's what you see at Hennepin. So a part of a birth recorder's job, in the state has data for, so the maternal child health data for the state of Minnesota, most of it comes from hospitals. So hospitals are mandated by the state to complete and file a birth certificate for a child in 5 days. So to make a long story short, so collecting this data, you go into the mother's chart, so of course, people are human. You go into a mother's chart, you read about so much, you go to the room, you see this mother, right? So for me at that time, there were some zip codes in Hennepin County where teen pregnancy was really high. So then I said, I'm interested. Like, go to a room and see a child who is 13, 14, 15. Like, my heart hurts for these children, right? So my mind started, I said, okay, maybe I want to do something about it. But being Black and loud is nothing, right? And being passionate. So I said, okay, why don't I then go to school to get a master's in public health so that when I'm at the table, I can be credible, right? And then later, I'll go and work at the UN, right? So of course, all through this, I met this fine bloke, and I said to not go to the UN again. I said to get married and then start a family. So the rest is history, right? So it wasn't like a plan. I realized that there was a need and I wanted to be part of the solution. So that started me on a trajectory, which I am still on, but I will pause here so that others can also get a turn.
That is amazing. And I think it's going to be really helpful to the people who view this webinar, who are on a healthcare professional track, to hear how things started or didn't intend to start, and then where you're at now. So thank you for that. Who wants to go next with this question of where did you start and where are you at now?
So I got my bachelor's degree when I was in Ethiopia in biology. Since childhood, I wanted to be in healthcare. I wanted to help people. My dad was a nurse and a pharmacist, so he had some books at the house, which nobody would be interested to look at wounds or anything, but I like that. And so I didn't go to medical school over there because of the education system. So when I came here in 1989, December, or January of 1990, I went to a community college here at Lansing area, Lansing Community College, and got my associate degree. So then transferred to Michigan State University. They took my bachelor's degree and my associate degree and got my master's degree in gerontological nurse practitioner. Then we moved to Mississippi, and that was in 1997, and they were not using nurse practitioners a whole lot. So there I worked in a hospital, and then came my husband then came back got a job back in Michigan. And so before I went there, I worked in a nursing home. They asked me to come back and be the director of nursing. So I became a director of nursing, got my master's for, gerontological nurse practitioner, but I didn't use it for a couple of years. And I became, the director of nursing in a long-term care facility. And worked there for a couple of years, and I almost burnt out because of the stress and everything. So I went to a hospital, and by then I got to work for about 16 years there. I always wanted to further my education. So where I was, there was no opportunity, but then I'm happy to tell you that I furthered my education and got my aspiration was to have a doctorate. And I recently, in August 2022, got my DNP, doctorate in nursing practice. So thank you. And walked on the stage at Aspen University in October 2022. So, people are asking me, so you've been working so hard with, balancing family. I have kids, I'm married, community, church, and work, big responsibility, being on call and stuff. And at the same time, going to school was, it was a tough journey, but, so people are saying, what do you do now with your life or with your time? Or what are you going to do with your degree? But this is what I wanted to do. It's for me. It's, there's no necessarily a promotion. It will make me more marketable for whatever I want to do, which I'm a director now. The next step is to be a chief nursing officer. I would want to be one, in God's time, I would say. But at the same time, did I achieve my goal where I wanted to be? For now, I'm satisfied, and that's where I am. It took a lot of perseverance and determination. I wanted to get there. So, my kids were saying, no more sleepless nights. That's, at the end, that's what they were saying. It's difficult, especially when you see them, they just give up and get tired, and they see me working all day and come home and then working on my paper, being up all night and going back to work or something like that. They can't even imagine. But that was my aspiration, and that's where I am right now, and I'm very thankful.
Thank you for that. And I think that's a great segue into another question that we want to get your thoughts on. So Miriam and Vesey, could you weigh in on what were some of the most difficult barriers that you had to overcome in your healthcare career journey? And I think we've mentioned some of those.
Bessie, if you're okay, I will go ahead and lead. And
Yes.
Thanks. So what, as most of us on the panel have alluded to, advancing our education is paramount, especially in households that Yale from outside of the United States in particular. Especially in my household, having two foreign-born parents, education is next to living, breathing, eating. It's not if you go to school, it's when you go to school, and it's not when you go to graduate school, it is you will go to graduate school. So that's one thing I just want to really reinforce and lead with, that, my sister and I, we both have graduate degrees. I'm currently in the process of obtaining my doctorate. I'll be done in May. It's just one of those things where you're a perpetual student, right? And you just keep going because that's just what's been ingrained from the very beginning. It's my foundation. It's all I know, and that's what I do. To answer your particular question, Lisa, about any barriers that have faced. Now, myself, I am born in the United States, and as most of you can hear, I do not have an accent. That was very specific of my mother. My mother knows 3 languages. My dad knows 9, right? But both my sister and I, they were very particular in us being raised that we would enunciate, we would not use any type of formatted words that are urban or would indicate anything outside of excellence. And that was purposeful because of the fact that they wanted to make sure that we had the best in life. With that being said, me having that still I face many barriers and challenges just because of the pigment of my skin, right? Now, most people look at me, they're not sure what my ethnicity is because I have the features of my mother, which is European, but then I have this melanin, right? So, you know, they don't know if I'm Latin, if I'm Middle Eastern, what have you. They have no idea where I'm hailing from. So there's this perpetual where do you belong? You know, you're not white, but we can't really figure out which box you fit in. Now, the one thing that I'm very happy that my parents knew from the very beginning was that my sister and we were not going to be identified as white, which is what my mother, if you were to look at her skin, is, even though she's European. They had the amount of thought process to say, you know what, we're not going to raise them as having this thought that they're white. We were always raised to be proud of our African culture. Even though I'm African American, I am identified as African because of what my father raised us to be. With that, we had that foundation. We were not confused or had to have these things that were set upon us to shoulder to say, okay, we're less than, right? We never had that in our brain. And then that's where my mom instituted the fact that she said, you know, you always will aspire to reach the top hilt. Again, I am going to get to the point that I hate to say it, you will find challenges where individuals will try to place their fears into you. They will look at you and feel that you're substandard because of your skin. If you add an accent on top of that, there's an extra onion layer of substandardness that it's kind of this case type of box that they put you in, and you have to really fight for what you want. I have recently been awarded the leadership position of clinical director. It was not by without hard work. I had to fight to get into nursing school. And when I say fight, you guys, I meant just that. This was back in 2006. When nursing was high in, everyone wanted to become a nurse. I had 4.0 background, but because of that, they chose to want to have individuals who may have a bachelor in art and they look better on paper or picture. So I actually went to the dean of the college and I fought to get into nursing school. I got into nursing school. Bachelor's degree. I had to fight to make sure that I got every single grade that I had to get. To get into graduate school, I went to Georgetown. Georgetown initially wanted to decline me, but I did not stop there. I went to the dean of Georgetown and I wrote a dissertation on why they needed to accept me. They accepted me on a trial basis for a semester, and I blew them out of the water. So they continued me through the entire Georgetown program, which I graduated with a 4.0 as well. And so now I'm continuing to get my doctorate. It's not without its challenges. So I'm basically saying that if you really want something, you need to fight to get it. And there's a way to get it. There is a way, and you need to reach out to allies. I did not do this by myself. I want to reinforce that it wasn't by myself that I got to this position. It was networking. It was connectiveness. It was reaching out. It was having panel discussions like this. It was partnering with organizations like this that got me to the next level. And even as we speak, I'm going to be transparent. I've even inboxed Bessie already because I'm hoping to partner her with my organization, with her organization. It's doing things like this on how we connect with each other to bring each other to the next level. And so then I'll let Bessie, because I could talk forever, but thank you.
Well, I try not to use the word barrier, but if I should for this conversation, because I feel like it through. For me, it was, I overcame a lot of things, let's just say. I overcame, you know, because I grew up in Minnesota. So I was born in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri. My parents, they were divorced, I think when I was 2 or so. My mom moved to Florida, and then we moved to Minnesota from Florida. So I've been here since what, 98 from Florida. And so when I came here, it was a shock because, again, different from the South coming up to the Midwest. It was a different group of people, a lot more Caucasian Americans versus, you know, different ethnicities, which I was used to. But I would say my biggest barrier was growing up in Minnesota and being the only Black girl in class. You know, I had a time where I was the only Black girl, and sometimes, you know, it made fun of in a way, like as far as, oh, your name must be Shaniqua, or you know, you must know certain things because you're a person of color, or you're Black, and which wasn't the case. And a lot of times people, when they hear me talking, they're like, oh, you sound like a Caucasian, or you sound like someone that, I don't know, like, where are you from? Like, they want to know. And I'm like, well, I'm from Missouri. And it's like a shocker to them to actually, when they meet me in person, it's like, you know, it's almost like they've already created this image of me in their head. And with my name being unique. So I'm named after my grandma's. So I have a very unique name. And so a lot of folks, they always wonder, like, hey, is this a girl? Is this a boy? Like, who is this? So I feel as if, you know, my upbringing being in Minnesota, there was not a lot of folks that I could look up to at a younger age when it came to the profession, you know, places where I knew I wanted to be. My grandma was a person that I looked up to as a nurse, but unfortunately I never had that close time with her when I was growing up. It wasn't that close knit where I would see her all the time. And I mean, she was in a different state. I was in a different state. So it was more like a, hey, I know you're a nurse. You know, she inspired me, but it was never someone I could just go to and spend time with. There was always this disconnect kind of thing. But that really made me think about, you know, healthcare, and then seeing, you know, from a patient's perspective, going in and being a patient myself, seeing how I was treated, and other stories of members of the family, how they were treated. You know, it was imperative for me to go in and to start my career in healthcare. And before nursing, I always wanted to go to medical school and become a doctor and everything, and a pediatrician to be more exact. But life had other plans, and then I also just routed back to nursing in that in the influence of my grandma at the time. So I took that path, and so now I'm actually in my DNP program, and it's very busy. So I mean, I can honestly feel what Miriam was talking about when it comes to, and even, you know, Meseret, when it comes to just juggling everything. You're always on a go, go, go mode. I mean, right now my kids are in the living room, and they're probably like, you know, what's mom doing? Because I'm always just, the clock is just always going. It's like, if I'm not studying, I'm teaching. If I'm not teaching, I'm working, doing other things, being a wife. I mean, my husband's like, man, he's like, can I take a break? I mean, you're going from this to this, you know. But I would say ultimately, through it all, the support is what is needed to overcome the barrier. The support, the encouragement, the coming together. I mean, what we're doing tonight, I'm meeting great women, great gentlemen here. And I think it's imperative that we continue these talks and to inspire our next generation, and to look at, you know, as a people of color, it's, I mean, I don't like to say barriers because I feel like it makes me feel defeated. So I would say we're overcomers. You know, we've overcome a lot. and just not from just a color of our skin, but just sometimes, our culture as a people. Sometimes we are already dismissed. And so I really just want to encourage everybody to just keep pouring this in. I mean, this is good conversation. And, I'm what, in my 30s, and I'm like, I'm going to go in and finish this degree. That was my goal the whole time when I was in nursing school. I always said I was going to go back. And so I've been a nurse for over 7 years. And so it was always in my heart to go back, but there was never a right time. So I just said, you know what? In I think it was 2018 or so, I applied to a DNP program. They also put me on, was it academic? They weren't trying to accept me because I think my GPA wasn't where they wanted it to be at the time. And that during that time, I told them I was going through certain things, some personal situations in life that had caused that to take place, my academics to fall a little short. And so they took that as no, they were just ready to dismiss me. But by all means, I found that appeal letter or that template, and I wrote my appeal, and here I am, about to finish, should be finishing up next year by God's grace. And so I'm just thankful that I didn't let the first no stop me. I kept going. And that's one thing I love that my mom has taught me was don't take no for an answer. You keep going. Even if you have to even if you have to ask for the dean or the supervisor, you continue to ask for who can help me, because I know this is not it. So that's what's really got me going, was just my passion to continue on and to fight for what I wanted. Because if I want it, I'm going to go get it.
So just to kind of recap quickly, like what I'm hearing is the key elements that all of you have brought to your success is perseverance and resiliency and determination and connecting with community and other support systems. So I really want to make sure that people watching this webinar in the future hear those themes and resonate with those themes. So Edwin, would love for you to lead us off on our ending question, and would love for everybody to weigh in on what advice do you have for internationally trained healthcare workers seeking employment in Minnesota or anywhere in the United States?
So maybe first, the short answer is you're good enough, right? So I remember when I came here and I thought I had a good training, I had good experience, I had managed people, and I did not get very far. And it just reminded me that I just needed to work a little harder. And everybody has talked about the things they had to overcome. I think I will sum up my own experience by asking the question, or asking myself, what is it about me and the culture that brought me up? Could I draw upon to be the best version of myself, right? And I landed on very simple things. As a healthcare person, our culture teaches us to be compassionate to those that are less fortunate. You know that growing up. And so I had to tick that box. Our culture teaches us to be respectful. And when you come to a new culture, nothing can be more important than being respectful of a new culture that's hosting you. Our culture teaches us to be good servants. So, growing up, if we had visitors at home, you always knew you had to pick up the pace and ask them, make them comfortable. If you're going to church, you're always serving others. And especially in this country, it was very clear to me early on that I had to be able to work and excel. And what I mean by excel means do your best each and every time. And so those those attributes that I felt carried me as a young person into my career have stood through my career here. Have always been true, and so my advice to those of us in healthcare is, as much as you think otherwise, just remember you're good enough. If you employ the same things that you admired about other people in this career that we seek, if you stay grounded to your own cultural attributes, you are going to make it, because we're built for resilience. We have overcome a lot, like my colleague said. And so if you focus on the output, what is it that people see in you? If they see the same positive attributes that I think our culture teaches us really well, there's nothing that will stop you from being successful.
Azarat, could you go next? What are your closing words of advice?
Thank you for this opportunity. What a wonderful panelists. It was so enjoyable to hear everybody that, you know, I'm not alone. So anyways, I like the word overcomer too, because we overcame that. That's why we are here, because there are so many things around us that are telling us that you can't do it, you're not good enough. But you know, based on my experience too, what I wanted to do is, I'll show you. So I always wanted to prove them wrong. When I was the one who was more qualified than my colleague to get the promotion, and you know, so nope, somebody else's. Oh, I already have a master's, I have experience, but no, let me make you sign this paper and then make sure that you go into the master's program, and I'll make you the director instead of her. So you see, everybody, you know, the society, there are so many things that will tell you that, as you said, you're not good enough. But with the self-confidence that you have, I said, yes, I can do it. I'll show you. So that's like the determination that we have, the drive, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So I liked how you put the perseverance. I was writing I wrote those things, and then you already said them. I was like, okay, I don't have to say it. You already, you know, said it, perseverance and determination. And also my major thing that I wanted to say, what helped me grow in my career, one of the major things is networking, which Miriam was saying. You know, from my experience, I joined the National Black Nurses Association, and so there was no local chapter, but I was sent to like 50 miles away from here. I was going there, and there were so many amazing African American Black nurses there, and they were supporting me. I was going just to learn. I just didn't even know what I was doing. But then they mentored me. So that mentorship is important. The networking helps you grow by mentorship. So after a couple of years of going there and learning from them, they just said, you know, you can be our president. And I was like, what? So, you know, there are people who have confidence in you because they see your potential, even when you don't see it. So they made me president, and yeah, we're here for you. We'll show you everything. So that networking is so important for, you know, immigrants or African Americans or Black. You know, we need that networking. So, and mentorship too. So by doing that, I got so much confidence to the point that I can even be the founder and president of a local chapter. I established one in my local in the city, the Lansing Area Black Nurses Association. So that is the mentorship was so important, because when I go to these conferences too, it shows you there are some people who excelled, and they had the challenges of the society and everything that goes around you, but you can do it. So your potential comes out. And you get encouraged. And So that's what at least connecting it to my to local organizations and not local national organizations that are with the career healthcare and or anything else. That connection it could be a little expensive, but it's worth it. The networking, it gets you there. Looking at the other people because you're aspiring to get there too. So I wanted to make it short and give other people a chance to say their part too. But I really appreciate our connection and this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that advice. I don't know. I'll just give you guys a little data point. In our state of Minnesota, 70% of professional careers are acquired through networking. So thank you for that really important advice on networking along with mentorship. I kind of think they go together, right? They're kind of a symbiotic relationship. Miriam, could I call on you next for your final words on advice for people from other countries looking to enter the healthcare field in Minnesota or just anywhere in the U.S.?
Of course. And, just to reiterate what our panel has already had mentioned and yourself, Lisa, perseverance is key. Resilience, you have to have resilience in needing to persevere with your goal, and don't give up. So, those are the three I want to lead with. And everything that our panel has mentioned is very poignant. So everyone has made really key focus points on that. In addition, I just want to add, as we all alluded to, networking and connectivity to different organizations that can help persevere and help you grow and connect you from one person to the next. Is a really good feature to help you in your journey when you're wanting to pursue your education and professional goals. I want to add that giving back when you get to the point of where you are able to, I strongly suggest that. I'm a key proponent where I would have not gotten here if someone else hadn't reached down and pulled me up the ladder. And what I believe is that I need to turn around and reach back for others right along with me. And once you navigate and charter these waters, which some of the water will be rough, some will be smooth, but through the points that we have given you throughout this panel discussion, I feel very optimistic that you will get there. We have all been there. We've had different strategies going through that we're offering to you today, but you will get there, so make sure you persevere. But it's very, very important that you do help the next person navigate that as well. We are all in this community and collective together. And when we partner together, we're stronger together. And I just want to end on that, just to say, make sure that you look back for your next brother and sister who is also wanting to reach and aspire just like you are.
I would say, just go in, coming into a new country, just go in with a loving, welcoming heart. Don't act like you know everything, be receptive to learning from others. Be open to knowing that you're kind of starting from a place where it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time. Don't compare yourself to others' accomplishments. Be mindful of, the things that you don't know and ask for help early on. don't wait until it gets worse to the point where you're getting overwhelmed, stressed, and now you're failing at what you try to accomplish and, your ultimate goal is. So just taking it back to when I was in nursing school, there was times where I didn't have transportation to go to clinical, but I was able to ask a classmate. We were able to come together. So just know that you just have to lean on each other to be successful. I think that was also mentioned tonight, as being open to come together and to have a good attitude, so people will be willing to help you.
That
And
is
that's
tremendous.
what I have to
Thank
say.
you. Thank you.
Thank
All right. And last but certainly not least, Rosemond, could you just kind of summarize your advice for people looking to enter the healthcare field, and then any other key insights that you kind of want to summarize tonight for us?
So I think that the panel has been wonderful, sharing like a myriad of experiences, and so I think the first for whoever listens to this is an awareness of what is possible. And as you can hear, we all didn't start at the same place. We started at different places, so the key thing is, I think, knowing what you want and going for it. A key piece of that is being okay, not even knowing. When you come to the United States as an immigrant, there's a lot that you don't know. There's a steep learning curve, and it's okay. There's some two key things. Hard work, right? So my kids are 22, 19, and 16. When I was in graduate school, I had 3 kids under the age of 5, and I was working full-time. So I was working full-time at Hennepin, then I'll take a bus in front of the Metrodome and then go to school at the U. So for those of you who are from Minnesota, right? And I recall one day I was pregnant and I fell, right, in the ice. I would never forget it. But all these hardships, they are okay because that is what makes you, right? So you have it in you, and it may not. So, like when I say you may not have a strategy, it's okay. You don't have to have everything. You would realize that as you come, you need to be able to take care of yourself, your family back home. So you have to work, right? And then discipline yourself to, even if it's one thing. So, I am an interpreter. Before I even went to graduate school, I went to school at the U to be an interpreter also, because when I worked at the hospital, I realized that people needed like Spanish services. There's so many things, right? So you can evolve, but realize that you are unique. You don't need to have a journey just like me or somebody else, right? Your path is unique. So you have to believe in yourself, believe in your abilities, right? And believe in the things that make you uniquely you. If God wanted, right, he would have made us all the same. But in his divine wisdom, we are different because he knows what he has purpose for us to be able to do. So your path is not like anybody's path. And I think one of us said it, don't compare yourself to anybody. So hard work, right? And then remember that there's light at the end of the tunnel. When in 2006, my advisor told me that I was almost done with graduate school, I couldn't believe it. I was working full-time and then going to school. So in the night, I would sleep like 2 hours. Like now I'm 53. It's been almost like 20 years, right? And I'm thinking, whoa, I did it. Like now I have an easy life. So, but before it was really hard, right? When my kids were growing and but you will get there, right? And so the past should tell us that, I think it was Winston Churchill who said, the future is unknowable, but the past should give us hope. Just hearing that others have done it means that you can also do it. So that's what I want to leave with you. And remember that your path doesn't have to be like anybody else. One thing that is important, critical, is our people don't like to volunteer. So I want to put a pitch for volunteering. And let me tell you why that is important. So, I started volunteering in for Books for Africa, and like Meseret going into, right? So I started volunteering for Books for Africa, and I ended up becoming one of the first. So I was the first Black woman president of Books for Africa. But listen, when I started. I didn't know anything, but through volunteering, I used to volunteer at the warehouse. I learned about being a board, right? So I learned about that, and making sure that my circles, you talked about networking, was wide, because Africans, I'm from Ghana, we like to go to places where we can eat fufu, jollof rice, those things. We like our things, we like our people, we like our churches. If we do that and we don't widen or broaden our networks, we do it to our own detriment, right? So by design, right? By design, my networks are about 60% not Black. And it's just by design, right? So anytime that I go to any meeting, anybody that I meet, I quickly find out a little bit more about them, and I keep, right? So you need to be out there, throw yourself out there, and that is how you learn. By volunteering, you get to serve on boards. I've served on so many boards at the state level, and most of the time, I was the only Black person, right? But then so over the years, the skills that I got from there, I didn't get from school. So now being able to, you talk about confidence, all of that, I learned it from being on the board. Beginning, you don't even want to speak up. You're scared about your accent. But it gets to a point where you build that confidence. So please, I know that my sister was talking about giving back, and you can start giving back early. Look for those opportunities to serve in your community, because those opportunities will serve you in the future, right? So I haven't arrived yet, but I'm excited at where I am, knowing that for about 20 years, it was a struggle. There were times I didn't have even $20 to put gas in my car. But today, I have enough money to build a library back home in Ghana, build toilets back home in Ghana. Right? It's the same person. Nothing has changed. So time, right? So give yourself a lot of time. Don't worry. Make your goals according to you, according to your intellect, according to your temperament, according to your gifts. Let other people inspire you, but they are not your competition. They are just there for inspiration. So you've heard from all the panelists, great ideas. Grab onto the ones that you can. Look up some of these people on LinkedIn. Reach out to them as needed. We are all here to support you. Your journey is unique. Don't let anybody lie to you, and it gets better. Trust me, it does.
Rosie, thank you. Rosamond, thank you so much. That was an amazing summary. Thank you, Miriam and Meseret and Vesey and Edwin, for being here tonight. I think this is going to be a very valuable webinar for our participants. We are happy to share this recording with any of you if you would like, and we are really excited to share this with our internationally trained healthcare program participants. So thank you everybody for being here tonight. And yes, I encourage you to reach out to each other on LinkedIn. I know some of you already have, and we will be in touch, because this has been amazing, and hopefully we can keep this conversation going. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Good night. Nice meeting you all.